When it comes to regional pizzas, everyone is familiar with the New York slice and the deep dish Chicago pie, but don't sleep on a good Detroit-style pizza. This Motor City classic has a chewy dough and all the cheese to get you revved up for dinner. We will begin by making our own dough, of course, and that starts with some bread flour, a little bit of extra gluten in there for a nice chewy texture. We'll put 2 heap cups of that into the bowl of a stand mixer, followed by 1 teaspoon of instant or rapid rise yeast, a good heavy pinch of salt, and then we'll go ahead and start mixing this and slowly adding in about 1 cup of water. Once you've got all that in there, just let it spin until it forms a nice dough. You could certainly do this in a bowl with a wooden spoon. You're just going to get a little bit more of a workout that way. Once it forms a loose and shaggy dough ball like that, go ahead and turn the mixer off and just let everything sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. This is going to ensure all of our flour is nicely hydrated and give that yeast some time to start to go to work. Then, after about 15 minutes, go ahead and mix this on medium to medium high for about 8 to 10 minutes to really form some gluten and develop a nice chewy dough. Again, if you're doing it by hand, enjoy the workout. After about 8 to 10 minutes of mixing, add a little olive oil to a bowl. I'm just using the mixing bowl here. Plop your dough back in. That way that olive oil keeps it from getting too sticky in there. Just poke it down and then let it naturally rise for about 2 to 2.5 hours in a warm spot on the counter with a cover on top. That'll give us plenty of time to make our sauce, which starts with a couple tablespoons of olive oil in a medium sauce pot over medium heat. Add in red pepper flakes to taste. I put in about a teaspoon, and a couple teaspoons of Italian seasoning. Just going to wake up all those herbs in that nice warm oil. And then use a really good quality crushed tomato here. We'll just slide that in, and then our additional flavorings here. You could use fresh garlic, but I really like the flavor of garlic powder in our tomato sauce, so I'm going to go with that. About a couple teaspoons, again to taste. Season it with salt and pepper, of course, and then we're going to cook this over medium-low heat for about 25 to 30 minutes, or until it's about reduced by half. Now, after 2 hours, you can see our dough has risen nicely. We want to work it into a 13 by 9 inch baking dish, which we will liberally grease with some olive oil. Now, if you find that your dough is snapping back and fighting you a little bit as you try and stretch it out, that's all right. Just stop, set it aside for 10 to 15 minutes, and when you come back to it, it should submit to your will and mold easily into the corners of your baking dish. Now, we got to talk cheese. Traditionally, Detroit-style pizza is made with brick cheese, but that can be hard to find here, at least where I'm from in the States, so I'm using a mixture of mozzarella and some Monterey Jack. The mozzarella gives us a nice pull, and the Jack adds a nice tangy flavor. So I'm doing about 4 ounces of Monterey Jack, and I'm just going to dice this into little cubes. You could shred it as well. And I'm using 8 ounces of a low moisture, part skim mozzarella. I like these little cubes because they don't melt quite as fast, which means it gives our dough more time to rise and cook before the cheese starts to burn on top. A little burnt cheese is good, but the whole thing, not so much. Anyways, we'll work our dough all the way into the corners here to prepare our toppings. I'm going down with some pepperoni. This is definitely optional, but I love pepperoni pizza, so I'm going to put about 15 or so on top. And then very, very generously sprinkle all of your cheese over the entire surface. We are not leaving any crust here. We are going edge to edge. We really want that cheese to actually burn a little bit along the edges and get nice and caramelized. That's one of the charms of Detroit-style pizza, so make sure you do that. I'm going to add a few more pepperoni to the top layer just so you know what's on your pizza. And of course, we have to put our sauce on. You can see how nice and thick that looks after about 30 minutes of simmering away. Now, Detroit-style pizza is very minimalist when it comes to sauce. Traditionally, there's 2 to 3 racing stripes of sauce right down the middle in parallel lines. Of course, this recipe is going to make enough sauce for 2 pizzas or enough sauce to dip your pizza in as you eat, which is my preferred method of dining. Next up, we're going to pop this in a 500-degree oven, or as hot as your oven will go, for about 14 to 17 minutes, or until the dough is cooked through and your top is starting to go golden brown and bubbly, just like that. And you can already see we've got some nice golden brown, slightly burnt, but yet delicious cheese on the edges. Go ahead and slide this out, let it cool for a few minutes. Look at that beautiful golden brown crust and those nice burnt edges. I'm going to garnish mine with a little freshly grated Parmesan Reggiano cheese. That's of course optional. And I'm going to shake over just a little bit more of those dried Italian herbs. Definitely let this rest for a few minutes so you don't burn the heck out of the roof of your mouth. But man, look at that. A beautiful crumb on that bread. It's not too dense, but not too light either. It's got a wonderful chew. We've got those nice burnt edges that, man, it's just hard to describe how deeply flavorful they are. As I said, not a super saucy pizza, so if you do like extra sauce, just dunk it or dip it on the side. I do love homemade pizza, and this dough is really worth the 2-hour wait. I highly recommend you give it a try, or just take a trip to Detroit and try the authentic stuff yourself. But no matter what you do, I hope you'll get out of here, have a great day, and go make something delicious.